And we are rolling. Mr. David Powders, hello, sir.
Hello.
Thanks for coming on here today. I know there's a slight difference in time and just making the time available. I know it's maybe your first, second day back from SLC and, running a division out in Cali, being a dad of just an army over there. You got a lot going on. And I just appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, man. Absolutely.
I'm excited for this call. Dave and I go way back. Dave is just a huge influence of mine. 2006, 2007, and being able to work with him for a short couple of years in Midwest, and then having him, transition out to Cali. It's good to have you on. So, Dave, really quick review: who you are, where you're from, what you all about.
So I am the current Bay Area division manager here, the San Francisco Bay Area. And I started with Cutco over my winter break, December 98, January 99. And then I went, my rep summer was summer 99 going into my junior year of college. And so I sold that summer. Then I was a branch the next summer. Then I was Rich Plaskin's pilot manager. And
Really?
then DM fall of 01.
So you started DM in the fall.
I did.
Did you go to that SLC?
Yeah, Aventura, Florida, 01.
I love your flow. Winter break, high school?
Yeah, I started, it was in the middle of my sophomore year in college.
You look like you're 23. I don't understand.
I'll take it. Dude,
you have a beautiful family? Couple of kids there floating around?
Yeah, my wife and I have a 6-year-old, a 2.5-year-old, and Thanksgiving Day, we will be welcoming a third child. We don't know the sex of the baby. It's going to be a surprise. So I'm guessing it'll be our third daughter.
Yeah. Literally bun in the oven. No pun intended.
Bun in the oven.
I tried it. All right, cool. Dave, a couple stats for you, my friend. You are currently the number 2 division manager in the President's Banquet standings, and you are number 5 overall for DVMs in P Banquet. And what does this tally up for you now as far as your amount of times winning President's Banquet?
I think this is my 8th P Banquet.
So you might know a little bit about the fall and doing well.
A little bit.
Career sales, by the way, just out of curiosity, how many CEOs?
I'm a week or so away from hitting 52 mil.
Wow. I asked the question a couple weeks ago, how many states are there in the U.S.? And they're like 52. Like, that's a deck of cards, but that's all right. Again, man, thanks for being on here today. I'm excited about your story, just in knowing a little bit more about you. Coming back from SLC literally just this last week. So this will air here in a few weeks ahead. So it's not going to be right now. But coming back from SLC, it's October 8th. What do you do? You're brand new as a manager. Go back 15 years ago plus. What would you do? You have all this energy, all this motivation, all this direction. What would you do going back to being brand new?
So it's a good question. There's so much stuff that coming from SLC. And one of the things I try to do is, and I'm sure some people did this on the flight home, is they probably poured through their notes. I think if you haven't gone through your notes, go through your notes. I think coming up with a compelling vision for why you're here. If you know why you're doing this, whether it's as a district manager, division manager, maybe a candidate is watching us, a branch or AM candidate. But if you're clear on why you're in the business, it's easy to withstand the ups and downs, right? So if somebody has a real clear vision of not just what they want for 2020, but also, okay, so if you know what you want in 2020, how does that tie into right now? How does that tie into what you need to be doing October, November, December so that the right habits are in place moving forward? If people have a strong vision, it's pretty easy to be on campus. It's pretty easy to be reaching out to PRs. It's pretty easy to run a training where there might be 1 or 2 people in front of you, but if you know why you're here as a manager, hey, this 1 or 2 person training class could be a catalyst for your biggest month of the fall in new business. So I think it's really important to review the notes and then get crystal clear on why you're doing what you're doing so that you can connect that to right now and why it's important.
I honestly don't know if I ever reviewed my notes. Like on the way home, I'm exhausted. I need a couple of days rest. And inevitably, there was a couple of years where I was pretty good, or maybe I took some notes while I was there. But it's almost like the debrief from the conference. Hey, what's one thing that I'm focused on? I love how you say it's easy. Like this job isn't easy, but if you've made it easy, if you focused on what you're really looking for, why you're here, it's easy. And
right.
I get that. That's been a constant theme, by the way, from a lot of our newer managers I've spoken to and a lot of our vets, such as yourself. Like once you have vision, the small little hits along the way aren't catastrophic. That's what happens.
And to John, to your point, like reviewing notes from SLC. So this is the, at the end of the post interview, we give this to every applicant that we select, and we give this to people that we don't select. Yeah. And Alex Mazurek, his recruiting message when he was talking about the interview, the intro to the interview, awesome. Or his post, I've been giving this packet away, and I was reviewing my notes from Maz's talk, and it occurred to me, like, I never go through this. I just hand it to them, right? And so today was the first time earlier today, after an interview, I got to be able to review what they were going to get from this packet. Hey, this is what you want to, you're going to get 1 or 2 responses when you tell your family. I mean, if you want to talk about something easy to implement, what Maz did, like that's, I thought it was a game changer. That was great.
His talk was one of my favorites on systematizing, if that's the word, systematic product. Like it's just a matter of here's what you do. So as you're doing this, I think I've said this to a bunch of people, and now looking back on being a DM for a couple of years myself, it's like if you would have just done the things that you told your reps to do on a daily basis, phone for PDI, call for management, right? Make a schedule for yourself, show up on time, show up with a game plan. If I would have done the simplest of things, what would your career have looked like, right? But how better, much better can you teach it when you're actually doing it? Like right. I reviewed my notes on the way home. So now when I tell our applicants to review this packet, I'm coming from a place of authenticity. Hey, if you don't review stuff, we're not going to go in the direction we want to go to. But in the back of your mind, you're like, I never review anything.
Right. It's funny how my wife, Kathleen, and I sometimes I'll attend a meeting and she'll say, what'd you get from it? And John Vroman has this saying, right? Like, instead of trying to learn something new, you can easily remember something true, right? Yeah. So you might already know it, but you stop doing it. And like what Maz was talking about, how many of us used to maybe say something like that in the post? Or maybe we used to say something to kick off the group part of the interview, and hearing what Maz did, it's like, oh yeah, I remember when I used to do that. And we had a 51% show, and then I stopped and it dipped. So reviewing notes is key, because there are so many little things to pull right out and implement immediately. That's another thing. It's just looking for the stuff you can implement right now.
The big wins. I mean, this is the premise of our calls here. And I remember John can ask me, what are you really passionate about? It's like, I'm passionate about the basics and the fundamentals. Like my mind is super simple. And like, I remember hearing some of your messages on PRs. And I remember one of the first times you spoke at SLC, I'm like, I can never do that. But what I can do is the basic building blocks. But if you do those basic building blocks on a day-to-day, you can get to where a Dave Powers operates on $1 Million Summers and being the PR guru. It's intimidating, man. When you hear these things from the podium, it's like, how do I get there? Right. Alex's talk was amazing because it gave you simple, fundamental basics like these calls to focus on today.
Right.
We're on the same page. I love it. Tell me about your fall. What would you be doing? You come back, you've reviewed your notes, you've got a schedule down. What would be some activity things that you could do productively? So I've got the notes, I've got a vision of how I want to be at. Where would the activity come into play on a day-to-day?
All right. So let me go from this from two aspects, a couple different points of view. One of them would be the recruiting point of view. The other is current reps on the team. So what's interesting is you were referencing that I went district in the fall. And so when I went from being Rich Plaskin's pilot manager and then to being a new district manager, I had assisted over my winter breaks, but I'd never been really involved in an office, because where I went to college, it was basically 90 minutes from the closest office, and we didn't have Skype or Zoom or any of that stuff back then. And so I didn't really know much about the fall. What I did know was, all right, I worked really hard as a pilot manager, and I'm just going to go after it this fall. And so my first fall, and this is what I would say to somebody coming back from SLC, is I was living on campus, right? I was on campus. My first fall, I might have, I kid you not, I might have been on campus 4 times a week, 4 mornings a week, Monday through Thursday. I wish I could remember how many weeks that was, but it was like the entirety of September, probably a lot of October. And the great thing was, when I came back from SLC, I had some people around that I could now bring on campus. But even if I didn't, if you're intense on campus, and look, somebody spoke at SLC, I'm pretty sure they talked about like 2 days a week for a couple hours each day. Look, if you're back from SLC and you're hungry, why not take a couple hours Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and really get after it, whether it's postering, chalking, flyering, running tables. But I just think about we just had this great event. Let's take the momentum. Let's capture the momentum that we have leaving that event and just go after it. What's funny is I've heard this for a long time, John, that you basically have a 4 to 6 week window from when students go to school in the fall or spring, where they're like looking for work, or that you could be on campus handing out a flyer, and people will take it, because if it's the first week of class, someone could be advertising, right? They could be advertising a club, they could be advertising a party, they could be advertising Greek life, and you don't have any, school's not big yet. But 4 to 6 weeks later, people aren't as receptive to work. Well, the crazy thing is, my first fall, we got more recruits in the month of November than we did in the month of September. Okay, we launched something like 24 people in September, and then October it was about that. But then November we launched almost 30, and it was just that we were hungry. So in other words, the recruits were out there to be gotten, but we were doing the work. And so if I were coming back from SLC, there would be 2 things I would do. One, I would make a really strong campus plan. And look, if you want to do it 2 hours a day, 2 days a week, and bring lots of people, I think that's great. If you wanted to go next level and go Monday through Thursday and just go after it, do it for the next 4 to 6 weeks. So that's one thing I would do from a recruiting standpoint, campus. The other thing I would do is, coming back from SLC, is I would sit down with every rep, and I would want to find out, why are you here? Like, does every manager know what your reps' majors are and why they're doing this, right? So I want to sit down with every rep. Okay, I want to find out why they're here, why they're like what they want to, what they're studying, right? And then let's talk about, okay, so why were you here? Why are you here in this knife selling job? And then it's just, let's connect the dots and help them to understand that, hey, as a business major, you're learning all this cool stuff. Imagine if you were to do the right things over the next 2 months and you got promoted to be an assistant manager. What would your resume look like next August, getting ready to go back to college or transfer from a community college to a 4-year school? What would your resume look like? It's one thing to, be taught business in college, and it's another to actually, it's one thing to learn it in theory, which is what college is. It's another to actually have it in real practice, which is what you would get as an assistant manager if you were in our organization as an assistant manager. Let's say 2 months from now you get promoted through next summer, and look, beyond that, you got to figure out what you want to do. Maybe you're running a branch, maybe you're not. But I just feel like as managers, we could do a much better job of tying our reps in, connecting the dots. Hey, what are you studying? Great. Why are you here? Okay, here's what a summer of management, here's what that would do for your resume. Whether it's doctor, lawyer, it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. But I feel as managers, we could do such a better job of that. And why not do it right now after SLC when we're fired up?
Yeah. I love the 2-prong approach, the recruiting aspect of it, which is driving touches. And had been in a territory where I didn't really know too much of what to do. Campus is always there. And by the way, if you don't even know what to do on campus, you don't even know what you have available to, Mallory Powell is our campus relations for Vector East, and Amanda is Vector Relations for the West. Like, there's people out there that can help you with this. The DVM, another district manager. But I love it how you're asking the questions to progress. Like, you weren't questioning yourself, and I've said this a few times, oh man, why can't I do this? I don't have anything. What's wrong? Versus what can I do? And what's the next step that I can take? And what's my vision and how do I get there? The recruiting aspect, hunger. You launched 24 in September, when you started in September.
Yep.
What? And then October, and then you even did more in November. That's a progressive, healthy. That shows me that you weren't just doing it to do it. You were doing it to move. You're doing it to build. You're doing it to progress.
And look, that you're pointing something out. Like, we were on a mission. I wanted to open up, and I wanted to hit President's Banquet, and we did. Now, the kicker was, this is before the PR program. The fall of 01 is probably when the PR program was, people were fiddling with it, and, oh, you can collect names in training. Well, we weren't collecting names probably until end of 03 or 04. We weren't hiring people to call, or we weren't having AMs do it. But so that fall of I don't know, we must have had about 80 recruits, and we got a bunch of them from campus. That's what we did. We were hungry for it, and I was taking people with me, and hey, at first it might just be you on campus, and then the next week maybe it's you again, or it's you plus one, but eventually you got a squad with you, and that's when it's the most fun.
Yeah, it's the resilience, it's the bigger vision. You know, it's funny we say the word hunger. Like, I actually think about being hungry. Like, what if your life depended on being hungry? You're going to go out there once, and do you go out to the first store, and if it's closed, you go home? Or do you find that 7-Eleven in some shady part of town and get the corn dog, get the hamburger, get the burrito until you feed yourself? Like, imagine that mentality on campus. Like, I'm hungry, and the recruits are there, but we're doing this to progress. We're doing this for a bigger purpose, not just I want to eat today. It's like, I want to nourish myself. I want to nourish our office.
That bigger purpose cannot be, I just feel like we do people really understand why they're here, right? Some people, hey, I went on campus to satisfy my manager, to tell him or her that I went on campus, versus if you know why you're doing this, you're going on campus because you want to get good people, and you want to get good people because you have a vision for the way 2020 is going to go, and you have a vision for adding 2 more assistant managers this fall. And every time you go on campus, you might find that person, right? So having that vision is key. And by the way, it doesn't have to be a perfect mission statement. It doesn't.
It can evolve. It just, what's the one thing, boom, like if you looked 5 years ago, is your mission statement and purpose the same as where it was 5 years ago? You, Dave Powder.
No, that was before, Violet's 6. But no, I mean, it's like you have a family, things change, right? So, but what matters is you still have to know your why.
Yep. And
your why can change.
Love it. I don't think we talk enough about it, and I also don't think we teach enough about it. What's important to me? Like, do you actually know how to write down your why? Do you actually know what you're looking for? What motivates you? What excites you? Where do you want to be a year from now? Financially, what would you like to have? Like, it's almost like a workshop of how to do and how to find your why, because you hear it enough. And I heard it enough. I know people say, find your purpose. I get it. It's like, well, do you get it, or have you just heard it before? Like, are you assuming you understand it? So I love the fact of finding out what's important to you, and it's not perfect. It's going to evolve over time. Your development of people, do you guys do the better we know you sheets prior to training?
Yes.
How many times, Dave, have you gone through? Because I can say it's been a lot for me, that it's like the person has stopped working in our business, and I finally look at their better we know you sheets. And it's gold. It's right there telling you what motivates you. What are you looking to gain from this position? What school do you go to? And it's horrible when you're having a conversation with somebody, you don't know where that sheet is. And it's like, so where do you go to school? And it's like, I've entered this information in on the system through text. I filled it out at the application in the interview. I filled it out on day 1 of training. And here you are, the manager, getting to know your people. And I've worked here for 2 weeks, and you still don't know the school I go to. I'm just saying, like, that's inconsistencies amongst it versus Dave, UVA, huh? How do you feel about being second best in the Big East under Syracuse? Ha, 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 you know? As you can tell, Dave went to University of Virginia. He's a stud.
You know, to go back, I don't want to, there's the giant pretentious diploma. Anyway.
I think that's great, man. It's just the getting to know your people.
Yeah. I mean, Larry used to always talk about that, and probably still does in the Eastern region, about in the fall, like actually when you're doing PDI with somebody, whether you're using web PDI but like to actually have in one of those windows, hey, here's where they go to school, here's what they're studying, here's their class schedule, right? Because if I send a text to somebody saying, hey, I want to have a quick call with you, and they go, I've told you, your division office manager and your top assistant manager that I'm in class Tuesday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. stop texting me, you're going to lose that rep. And so just making sure that we are in touch with our people and we're aware of their schedules, we're aware of their majors, that we know why they're here. And if we don't, use that time to figure it out so you can help them connect the dots.
Yeah. Larry's message, by the way, was our very, very, well, it's interview number 2. And he talks about this in detail. Like, it was so good. We had a 45-minute interview, but it was so pivotal for the fall because it's slowing down. It's taking time to get to know your people. And it's sitting down with somebody just being like, for 5 minutes, right? How are you doing?
Right.
It's not, how are you? Okay, good. Blah, blah, blah. It's, how are you doing? What's going on? What's new? What are you looking forward to? What do you love? What do you like about school? It's just fun to get to know people. No, it's like that 5 minutes, nothing else matters except just to get to know that person. I'm with you, man.
He practices what he preaches, because he'll do that at SLC. And if you give him the cursory, "Oh, I'm good, Lair," he'll go, no. Like, seriously. Yeah. How are you doing? Right?
How are you, though? It's like,
I feel like we do that with our reps, and we should really be caring. Simple, but powerful.
Let's go. Let's switch gears here as we kind of transition to the second part. Is what are you doing great right now, man? What's great for you after your years of battling? What's working for Mr. Powders?
So I feel like there's a couple of different things that are working. One of them is understanding. I think it's understanding how everything ties together. So we had a great August in our Walnut Creek pilot, but we didn't have a great September. And so because I know why I'm here and because I know why I'm doing this, it's pretty easy to rally our people about, hey, here's where we are, here's where we're going. It's funny, I was listening to I don't know how many of the Changing Lives, Selling Knives podcasts you've listened to, but I was listening to the Mike Lancelot one on my way to the office today. It's really good. And he talks about promoting where you are, and just as importantly as a team, where you're going, right? And so I just think about, I think what we're doing well right now is we know why we're doing this. I know why I'm doing this, and it's easy to promote to my people so that good or bad week, good or bad month, it doesn't really affect us. Something that I made a conscious decision to do a year ago was, or actually 2 years ago, coming off the summer, is I made a conscious decision to surround myself with people that were just kicking butt. And so I added some people to my favorites on my phone, right? Like I can just pull it up and, oh, there's Larry Manley, there's Ben Jackson, Trey Ketchum, Dane Espigard, Evan Keller. And I just started talking to these people, and there were others too, but I just started talking to them more. And as a result, I felt like I'm gaining critical information that's really going to help me, some of which I can use, some of which I've got a table. But I feel like we circle of influence, right? How often did Gamboa bring that up, or someone else bring it up at SLC? So knowing who your circles are, and also just knowing what you want. If you know what you want, it's just so much easier to make a game plan for it. So to go back to what I was just saying about having a good vision, before you and I got on Zoom, I was talking to my Dom Carson for next year. So my current Dom, she'll graduate, she'll be a district manager, or she'll graduate being a Dom because she graduated from college already. But then Carson will step into being a Dom. And I was just talking to him about our staff, and I was talking to him about what our staff is going to look like. And I was bringing it to right now, and how we have this new rep on our team, Lauren, and like, where could she be, right, going into next summer? And so just talking to the people in our organization about what positions we want to fill. And I'm just constantly promoting that to people on the team as early as training, as early as the end of the interview, right? How we're looking for 2 to 3 new assistant managers right now.
The theme I'm picking up from you, man, is it's abundance and scarcity. Like you think in an abundance, and I've used this term a ton, and I'm still learning it myself. And as a pitfall, as a brand new manager, I'm focusing on what I don't have. I'm focusing on where I'm not at. I'm focusing on the things that I'm not doing well at. And it's a scarcity. It's like you're really tugging on it. And with you, and you're talking to your people, do you understand what I mean when I say, like, can you relate to thinking in the scarcity?
Yes.
So I know it's kind of rhetorical for like, it's just good to hear you say like, yes, I've thought that way. It makes me feel a little bit more human. But when you're talking to people, communication, where you see people at, promoting the vision, it just allows you to open up to an abundance. What I don't have, where we're not going, and you're going to protect what you don't have, and you're going to protect it to a fault. Where we're going it's an unwritten chapter. Like, we're going to put where we're going to go, but I actually don't know where we're going to go. That's the exciting part. Like, anything is possible. What's in front of us is here, and where I'm going to be at in 5 years from now. And if you go back to your dreams list or your promotions, you may not hit on 50% of them, but you're going to get a heck of a lot more than if you didn't promote anything.
Right.
It's great, man. I love your abundant thinking. And I really think that due to your success personally and professionally, beautiful family, positive influence on our business, it's just, you've learned how to think in abundance, man. And I respect it. Props.
I appreciate that.
As we wrap up, any last final thoughts on, there's so much. And again, we just want to give people doses. We don't want to overwhelm them with thousands of tips and whatnot. And I think so far what you've gotten is great. Like, how to start with a vision, how to start with a why, who to surround yourself by. How do you know if somebody's taking their time, draining your energy? Like, any things you want to wrap up on?
Yeah, well, I think there's 3 things that I'd love to say right now. One of them is when we leave SLC, people built relationships with people. And I always loved how, all right, we'd see people at SLC. It's funny, I was just thinking about Nephis earlier today. Maybe I saw the picture of him in the Bills gear with Andy Reid and when they were on their region trip. And I was thinking, man, I got 2 words with Nephis at SLC. I need, that's not enough. I need to connect with him. So, but it's like, what I love about our company is, all right, SLC, P banquet, national trip. Like, you've got these opportunities to see people. And that's one of my favorite things about our business is the relationships that we get to build over time. And so I think, all right, people from SLC, they met people they didn't know. Hey, how about following up with them and having some sort of, it could be an accountability call. It could be something every other week of, hey, what were your takeaways from SLC? All right, what are you going to implement? Great. 2 weeks from today, we're going to have another call and we're going to talk about, did you implement? How's it going? Did I implement? How's it going? So I think that's something really important to create circles of influence.
Right.
I think a second thing would be just sharing this stuff with the DVM, not just for accountability purposes, but so that the DVM is in the know. Because I think sometimes we go, I got all this stuff from SLC, I'm going to implement it. And before you know it, the DVM's like, wait, our region's on a different program. Oh, I didn't even think about that. Final thing I want to say is you can do really well in the fall and spring just by launching 3 to 4 people a week. And it doesn't, like, I'm not talking SLC recruiting numbers, right? Where somebody basically averaged 10 launched a week for 5 weeks or 8 launched a week. You can be really successful in our business in the fall and spring, launching 3 to 4 people a week. And I think people need to hear that more. And if they focus on the things right now that they want to get better at between now and next summer, they can have a lot of good momentum with these programs going from November, December, January, February. It's when somebody says, hey, you know what, John, I'm going to get better at this and I'm going to flip the switch next summer. Nobody ever flips the switch. Like, you're doing the little things now, October, November, December, January, February. That way in going into the summer, you've got a lot of confidence with that program. I think one of the things I took from SLC was I just need to get my hands dirty again with certain programs, right? Instead of me running the first 2 hours of advanced training and then turning over rep-driven PRs to my competent staff, hey, I'm going to be in there and I'm going to drive it and I'm going to make sure we're crushing it. And then when it's over, I'm going to go home, So just get your hands dirty.
I love the 3, the opportunity. I'm not going to lie to you, man. There's been a couple of times back in the day, 2, 3, 4 years deep as a manager, you've gotten some highs. There's a couple of lows. Sometimes it's a relationship. It's the conversation of a company trip. It's that one person you're excited to see. I'm not saying that they're the only reason that helped you through, but man, a phone call goes a long way. And that person just goes, hey man, I felt the same way too. And you know what? Maybe if we talk to one another, and when you can feel somebody that feels what you're feeling, it makes you feel more human. It doesn't make you feel like you're doing something wrong. Like, it's okay to feel these feelings. It's not okay to not reach out. Like Brett said on one of the calls, you choosing to not ask for help is you choosing to not be successful.
Right.
And that's something that really resonated with me because, well, nobody wants to hear me complain. It's like, well, you're not complaining if you're asking for help. You're only complaining if you're just finding areas of opportunity and you're dismissing them. If you're just blatantly just disregarding what you're supposed to be doing and crying about it. Like, do you have a complaint or are you complaining? And it's okay. Get it off your system, talk up, and then figure it out. And just, it's great, man.
And there are people in this business who want to help, whether they're in your region, like they want to help. And that's one of the great things about relationships, whether it's now, whether it's in Paris, but just getting to know people, building relationships. It's the best part of the business.
The DVM, number 2, they have numbers of people. I've got every access to a person's email. As long as they're cool, that I sent you out the email. Like, there's access to people and people want to help. I love that point. People want to help. So don't like, and if you ask somebody and they don't want to help, there's 1,000 other people out there that could help.
Right.
Right, dude. 3 to 4 launches per week, even if it's 2 one week and 4 the next, and 3 1 week and 6 the next, and 2 1 week and 4. Like, the consistency of it's gonna get there. So, dude, this is great, man. I really appreciate your insight, your abundance thinking. You put a smile on my face. I just feel like we're on the same wavelength. You look younger and have much better hair. And it is what it is. Who you surround yourself with. I love it.
That's big, huge. Don't underestimate that.
Well,
who
dude,
you surround yourself with.
The last part of the interview, I don't know if you've seen any of these before, but we usually do our random questions of fun. And I wanted to do something new with you, which has never been done before, because I think that you and I are on that wavelength. I just feel like I know you really well. So
we know each other pretty well.
Here's what we're going to do. And I could be blatantly wrong on this, but here's what we're going to do. Instead of me asking you questions one at a time for a minute and see how many you get right, I want to see how close we really are. So I'm going to ask you questions, and I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, and then we both answer. And let's see how close we are to the right answer.
Okay.
You cool with that?
Let's roll.
So I'm going to put a minute on the clock. Dave Powders. Okay, here we go. All right. Favorite drama that you watch by yourself? 1, 2, 3. The Notebook. Ryan Gosling. Okay. Let's go with an easy one. A number from 1 to 100. 1, 2, 3, 30.
Magic Johnson. Wait, what'd you say?
I said 32.
That's Magic Johnson.
Magic Johnson's 32. 2 for 2. Okay. This one's obscure. We'll see how it goes. Favorite holiday? 1, 2, 3. Groundhog Day.
Okay.
Really? Something about Sam, Tuscasani? All right. Okay. Favorite male actor?
Oh.
1, 2, 3.
Vince Vaughn.
Yeah. My man.
There you go.
That's an easy one. Okay, this one I don't think we're going to get, but I want to go anyways. I want to see how deep we can go. Favorite childhood game? 1, 2, 3.
Throwing rocks at a sign.
Signs. You used to do that too?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Favorite superhero? 1, 2, 3. Hulk.
Oh, yeah.
If you could be any animal, what would you be? 1, 2, 3.
Lion.
Yeah. All right, dude. What do I have in my right hand?
Pair of scissors.
This one you will not get. I'm sure of it. Under my left breast, right here, under my jacket, what do I have on?
You probably have Evan Keller's SLC name tag that was misspelled to Even Keller. That's a wild guess. That's great.
All right, man. Last question as we wrap it up here. Who is the best college sports team in the business? Cuse.
University of Virginia 2019 men's basketball champions.
Dude, we are 10 for 10. Yes, I know that Syracuse is in the ACC, not the Big East, so I'll get some flack on that. But thank you for humoring me along the way. I love you. I miss you. I hope to see you soon. Let me know how the little one comes into the planet.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for all your work. Thanks for all your greatness. And I appreciate the time. And go Syracuse.
Go Hoos. Love you, buddy.
All right. See ya.